Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking, well, a really fascinating shortcut into the psychology of influence. We're diving deep into the secrets of one of the world's most celebrated mentalists, Oz Pearlman, specifically looking at his book Read Your Mind and some related interviews.
Yeah, and we're not talking smoke and mirrors here.
No, exactly.
This is about meticulous observation, applied psychology, basically the techniques he uses to reshape how people interact, and how he captivates huge audiences.
Right.
So our mission for you, the listener, is really to fast track your understanding of how mentalism works in practice.
Okay.
This deep dive, it's designed to show how these psychological techniques that, professional mind readers use are actually powerful, actionable strategies. Things you can use to build real confidence, sharpen your intelligence, and ultimately gain genuine influence in pretty much any situation.
I love that core idea.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a stage magician to make real changes.
Not at all.
You just need to think like one. The book's even described as a powerful modern twist on how to win friends and influence people. It sort of blends that stage intrigue with actual concrete strategies.
And it's clearly hitting home for people in high-stakes situations. Mark Cuban, he knows about closing deals, right?
Definitely.
He calls this book a playbook if you want to build real relationships, take control, and, close those deals.
Full playbook. Wow.
Yeah, and he emphasizes it's not about the tricks themselves, it's about the tools. And it all comes down to this core idea that success really starts and ends with understanding people.
Okay, let's unpack that right away, starting at the foundation. If it's not actual magic, what is mentalism?
Yeah.
Because, we hear the word and think mind reading, not business strategy.
That's the absolute crucial distinction Pearlman makes, and it comes from, 30 years of experience?
Right.
Mentalism isn't about reading minds. It's completely about reading people. Think of it like high-level behavioral science and psychology, just applied with such precision, it looks like magic. It's really an exercise in gathering huge amounts of psychological insight so you can anticipate behavior, maybe even intent, before anyone says a word.
So it's really, really sharp observation. And the sources kept highlighting just how vital nonverbal communication is in all this.
Oh, absolutely.
We hear the statistic all the time, but it's worth saying again, something like 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Few percent, yeah.
So if you're a mentalist, you're basically tuning into that huge channel that most of us are just ignoring.
Precisely. If you're learning to read people, the main lesson is that it's not a matter of what they say, but how they say it, or even what they don't say. And the goal isn't just cool party tricks. Mastering this nonverbal language is incredibly practical. It's about mastering the art of influence to, read people, win trust, and ultimately shape outcomes.
But I have to ask, for the average person listening, can we really get that precise? A mentalist trains for decades. Is it realistic for us to become that observant?
Well, that's kind of the value here, right? This book tries to distill those decades down into principles you can act on.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the interviews with Pearlman show these insights lead to very specific, high-impact things we can apply almost immediately. We're talking about spotting tiny cues that reveal major intentions.
Okay, let's nail down those 3 critical takeaways that really jumped out. First, this idea. You can tell if someone's lying in just 3 seconds. How is that even possible? What's the mechanism?
It's about spotting what he calls a baseline shift. It's not about looking for general nervous fidgeting, which most people think.
Right, like avoiding eye contact or something.
Yeah, but Pearlman focuses on really rapid, involuntary changes from how that person normally behaves. So say someone's usually very direct, steady gaze. You ask a tough question and instantly, sharply, their eye contact breaks.
Wow.
Or you see a flash, like a micro-expression of contempt or fear, that's gone in a split second. That's the signal. The 3-second thing isn't about deep analysis. It's about noticing that immediate, almost neurological panic response that breaks their established pattern.
Wow. Okay. So a sharp break, not just general nervousness.
Yeah.
That's specific. Now, what about persuasion? This psychological trick that makes people say yes without them even realizing it.
Ah, yeah. This one taps into the power of small commitments to sort of anchor a larger agreement later.
How does that work?
It often involves making a really small, low-stakes request first, something that's almost impossible to say no to, like, can we agree the weather's nice today, kind of thing.
Okay.
By getting that initial easy yes, even on something tiny or neutral, you subtly prime their mind. You create this little path of agreement. People unconsciously want to stay consistent, Once they start saying yes.
They want to keep saying yes.
Exactly. The mentalist just starts that path really early and really gently.
That's clever.
Oh.
Like building agreement muscle memory. And the third one, the avoidance cue. The subtle body language that makes people instantly ignore or avoid you. That sounds like something we definitely need to know about. Self-sabotage, maybe?
It absolutely is often self-sabotage, and it connects right back to the mentalist's focus on projecting openness and presence.
Okay.
The cue that often turns people off immediately is closed, protective, or sort of small body language. Think about people who cross their arms really tightly, not just casually, or who hunch their shoulders, almost trying to take up less space.
Right. I can picture that.
That little cue signals fear or withdrawal, maybe low status, and instinctively, people might avoid or dismiss you because you're basically signaling, I don't want to engage. The key, and we'll get into this, is training yourself to consciously fight those unconscious defensive postures.
That sets us up perfectly for the next part then. Because if influencing others relies on reading their subtle cues, well, it must start with having the control to manage the signals you're sending out. The deep dive isn't just outward focused. It's about turning inward too. What does thinking like a mentalist teach us about mastering our own minds?
Well, the fundamental truth here, and Jay Shetty pointed this out, is that the greatest influence starts with mastering your own mind. You just can't observe others clearly if your own internal monologue is all chaos, right?
Makes sense.
So the mentalist techniques are really designed to help you sharpen both your cognitive and your emotional intelligence. So you can spot and then overcome those mental blocks, that internal noise that are actively holding you back.
And those blocks are usually the big ones, the self-defeating habits we all wrestle with.
Yeah.
Fear of rejection, procrastination, that constant self-doubt.
Absolutely. The book specifically targets those.
Oh, yeah.
And look, dismantling that stuff is hard work. Pearlman makes the mental training needed feel very real by being candid about his successes and failures alike.
Right.
The sources highlight that he tried out for America's Got Talent twice before he finally got on and succeeded.
That's actually a really powerful story.
Isn't it?
It shows that even someone who's mastered this influence psychology still faces rejection, still fails. But the difference is the mental framework he uses to handle it.
Exactly. He didn't just walk away after the first no. He had to internalize that rejection, quiet down that inner critic we all have.
Yeah, that voice.
And then just came back stronger. That persistence is the core of the mentalist's inner strength. The actual practice of mentalism, all that memorization, the risk-taking, performing under pressure, it's basically high-level training in resilience and focus.
Ah, okay.
It teaches you how to manage pressure, how to eliminate the fears that can paralyze you, and how to maintain the mental discipline you need to execute something complex without messing up, whether that's a stage illusion or, a sales pitch.
So the mentalist approach is really about kind of operationalizing confidence.
Yeah.
You can control your own state, quiet the self-doubt. You automatically project that openness and presence needed to win trust, the stuff we talked about earlier.
Precisely. It connects the internal control directly to your external influence. It's all linked.
Okay, let's get tactical then. Let's shift to part 3. For everyone listening, what are some of the simple, easy-to-master strategies the sources mention? Things that can be learned quickly but used for, well, a lifetime.
Yeah, let's detail some specifics from the book for building connection, improving memory, maximizing influence. Let's start with connection, which is so key for trust. There's something called the follow-up secret.
The follow-up secret.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because most people, they exchange business cards and that's kind of it.
Right. This technique is about meticulously taking notes right after you meet someone. Not just about the business stuff, but about the small, specific, personal details they mentioned.
Like what kind of details?
Maybe they mentioned their kid's soccer game or an upcoming vacation or even a minor health issue they were dealing with. You write it down. Then, when you follow up later, you specifically reference that personal detail.
Ah, so you're applying that sharp observation to networking. Why does that work so well psychologically?
It works because, look, we live in a world of generic communication, right? Great meeting you. Yeah.
Referencing that tiny, specific personal detail makes the other person feel profoundly seen and valued. It's like a nonverbal signal that says, you actually mattered enough for me to remember this thing that was only relevant to you.
Okay, wow.
It just hammers home that the small things matter, and it instantly lifts that interaction from just transactional networking to, like, authentic relationship building.
That's a simple habit to start, but yeah, it definitely requires discipline to keep doing it. Now, what about memory? Mentalists are famous for memory feats. How does the memory hack work?
The memory hack is really about moving away from just rote memorization, like trying to drill facts into your head. Instead, it leverages the power of narrative. It's about improving memory by, as the book says, wrapping things up in stories to help people remember.
Okay.
Psychologically, our brains are just wired to recall sequences and context stories, basically far better than isolated facts or boring lists. That's episodic memory. So if I'm presenting data, say, I shouldn't just list bullet points. I should try to weave that data into a little story, a character arc maybe, or just a memorable narrative people can connect with emotionally.
Exactly. You're making the information sticky. And importantly, this isn't just about your memory improving. It's about making it easier for other people to remember you and your ideas.
Right, making your message memorable.
Yeah. And generally, the material promises to help you build habits that actually stick, turning these focused mental techniques into, just part of how you operate every day.
These practical tools obviously got the attention of some pretty serious thinkers. David Goggins, the guy who's all about mental toughness. He says Pearlman has learned to master the mind, which Goggins calls the most powerful weapon.
Yeah, and it's not just self-help buzz either. It's endorsed by people who really understand transferable skills. Adam Grant, for instance, he highlights how universal these strategies are. He notes that Pearlman reveals his secrets so you can apply them to excel in any field.
So it reinforces that idea. These underlying psychological principles work everywhere.
Absolutely.
And Katie Couric seemed to capture the consensus nicely, nating the blend of incredible real-life examples and practical techniques. It proves you don't need a top hat to read people effectively.
Right?
You just need the right guide. And one source specifically mentioned that aspiring entrepreneurs especially will be energized by these really practical, productive tips.
So, wrapping this all up, what does it really mean for you listening?
I think the main takeaway is that the skills defining a world-class mentalist, that deep observation, the intense self-control, the focused memory training, these aren't magic. They're simply the essential practical components for success in business, in relationships, in your own personal growth.
Yeah, this deep dive really lays out a path, doesn't it?
Ah.
A path to leading with more clarity, connecting more deeply with people, and influencing outcomes with real purpose. And all starts by just paying closer attention to the signals we send and the signals we receive every single day. And that leads perfectly into our final thought for you to maybe mull over. We learned that a mentalist can spot a baseline shift, maybe indicating a lie, in just 3 seconds, and that there's a subtle mistake in body language that can instantly make people dislike or avoid you.
Right.
So, if our success or failure can hinge on these tiny, almost invisible psychological cues, what are the unconscious behaviors you might be exhibiting every single day? The way you walk into a room, maybe. That tiny hesitation before a handshake. Even just where you put your hands when you talk. Are any of those things currently sabotaging your ability to build trust without you even realizing it? That self-assessment. Well, that's the real deep dive to start on your own.